and say, this is what it is. And it was our faith. It was our relationship with God. It was our faith. So that was our foundation. And if that wasn't there, then we wouldn't be here.
Welcome to Love Stories, a relationship podcast for successful women, where we talk about love, dating, relationships, and how great love stories are made. Whether you're searching for the one, you're madly in love, or simply curious about romantic relationships, this podcast is for you. I'm Charlene Byars. Each week, you'll hear from women, couples, and experts, and all the ins and outs on how to create your own love story. I am so passionate about this subject, and I'm so excited to share all the things that you can apply to create a beautiful love story of your own. Cheers to great love. Welcome back to the Love Stories podcast. I'm your host, Charlene Byars. Well, hello. I woke up this morning feeling all the warm and fuzzies. You know, when you just wake up and you just feel like it's going to be a great day. And I was thinking about you, and I'm hoping you're having a great week. And I want to thank you for being here with me today, because I want to talk to you about rituals and traditions and why rituals are so important in romantic relationships. Why they're important is because rituals create lasting memories, and they actually strengthen the relationship. Rituals enhance belonging, and they create something to look forward to and provide a sense of identity. What's so cool about rituals and traditions is that they actually strengthen a couple's intimacy. And that actually helps reinforce the connection with each other by keeping the relationship fresh and exciting. So I want you to think about that for a moment. What are some of the love rituals and traditions that you have with your partner? Or if you're single, what are some of the rituals that you look forward to and you can incorporate into your life? For an example, Mark and I have put in place and have created rituals. Things like we pray together every day. And that is actually something that we look forward to, and it really keeps us close. Also, on the weekends, we prioritize long walks, and that is something that we look forward to, and that actually keeps us connected. Those are just a few things that we do. But I want you to think about the rituals that you already have in place, and if there are other rituals that you want to create with your partner. And it can be anything. It can be anything that's keeping you connected. So let me give you some examples. Some ideas I'm talking about is, let's say, sharing meals together. Even if it's a ritual that you guys always try to eat together, on, let's say, Sunday evening. Or going to bed together at night, getting ready together and going to bed together every night. It can be anything like having coffee in the morning, and that's kind of like your way of connecting, or going on a weekly date night. Anything that is something that you guys do to connect, even set aside every night to, just talk to each other and reconnect. Because these are some of the things that you can incorporate into your relationship, and they will make such a difference in the connection with your partner. Because it is so important for relationships, to do things to stay connected and grow closer. And with rituals, those are things that can really help. Let's talk about the tip of the week, which is common red flags to look out for while dating. Men who are married, separated, recently divorced, and haven't been in a relationship since being divorced. Men who don't know what they're looking for, not sure if they want to get married or have children. We'd never take chances on a maybe. Men dealing with mental illness or emotionally unavailable. Men dealing with alcoholism. Long distance, absolutely an absolute no-no. Breadcrumb men. They don't make you feel safe and understood by following up with you regularly. If you feel anxiety while dating him, then that's a big sign. Because it should feel warm and fuzzy being around him, like being with your best friend. So, follow your gut and understand that how you feel around him is what makes all the difference. I am so excited. I have such a treat for you today. I want to talk to you about this week's guests, Jezreel and Tonza Christian. Ooh, when a Southern belle meets an island boy, they make waves. Their love story started in Maryland, and today, 21 years and 5 amazing children later, their love story continues. Jezreel has a background in engineering and construction, while Tonza was a former nursing executive. After 19 years, they both walked away from corporate America. Today, they run a successful financial firm where they mentor couples and individuals in business, finance, and marriage. What I love so much about this conversation was that this wasn't each other's first rodeo. They decided that if they were going to take a chance again on love, they wanted to do it differently from the start. So they both had intentions to keep it real, honest, raw, and vulnerable, and show up their true, authentic selves from the beginning, and the rest was history. With no further ado, Jezreel and Tonza Christian. Well, hello! Oh my goodness! Yay! Who do I have up in the house? I have Jezreel and Tonza, and let me just say something. Again, why I'm always saying this, but I'm actually serious, like seriously. I have been so excited to talk to them. They are just awesome. And I just want to learn about their love story and how they came about to doing what they're doing now and how they help people but how they came together and their journey, because it's so inspiring. And what this podcast, if I talk about it all the time, what it's about is really celebrating relationships, real relationships that have gone through, trials and things and all the things, but have been able to figure it out and grow stronger and have just an amazing relationship. Because I really believe with all my heart that relationships should be awesome. And relationships should be where we go to enhance our lives and not detract from our lives. Relationships should go where we can be vulnerable, we can feel safe, all the things. And a lot of times we go through relationships and we're not having that. And sometimes we just got to figure it out and keep going and going through it. Because if love is there, right? Like if love is there, anybody can figure this out if the love is there. Yeah. So hello, hi you two.
Good to be here.
Good to be here. I was really thinking about like how I'm going to start with you guys. And then I thought, Charlene, just keep it simple. Just go from the beginning. So how's this? How did you two meet?
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Yes. Let's start there.
I'm going to let you tell it because you initiated. Okay. So let's start there.
So 20 years ago, at my sister's wedding in the state of Maryland, I was not supposed to go. I was a chemical inspector then, and my wife was in nursing school, and she was not going to come either. Well, sometimes, God orchestrate things, and I showed up, and a day later she showed up. Well, I was upstairs in my uncle's home getting myself ready, and my brother was behind me. I was walking downstairs, and the door opened. And when the door opened, I saw an angel. I was like, I was stuck halfway on the staircase. I couldn't move. My brother behind me is like, Jay, get out the way. I need to go downstairs. I was like, look. And he's like, what you mean? Look. I'm like, okay, she's beautiful. And I said, she gonna be my wife. He's like, Jay, are you crazy? I walked downstairs, walked right up to her, and I says, hey, I don't know your name. I don't know who you are, but you're going to be my wife. And she looked at me stunned, like, well, have you been smoking? A matter of fact, I don't know what you've been smoking, but I am not going to be your wife.
That's all right.
I looked at her and I laughed. I said, girl, you're so funny. Why are you being so funny? Let's exchange numbers. We exchanged numbers, and When we left, I was like, I would like to get to know you more. Our first date,
Yes.
I think 3 months later, was in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Yep.
And I had a stretch limo for her. It's the first time she flew in her life.
Yep.
So I had her on United Airlines, and I went on American Airlines.
Yep.
So I'm on the airport. She doesn't know where to go, what to do. And I hear my name over the intercom, Jezreel Christian, come to the booth in United Airlines.
I was so scared. So scared.
Oh my goodness, Jay, I did not expect that. That is amazing. Mama, hold on. Can we give a shout out to Jay? Like, what in the world?
Seriously, talk
Always-
about doing what you want.
It's like, seriously, I always, Jay, seriously, wow, that's a very, very masculine, direct man. This is, you are what we are looking for. Seriously. I tell women all the time, I'm like, listen, you don't have to worry, because when a man wants you and you're really the one, he's going to go right there. He's going to be blinders for every other woman.
Yeah.
Jay, what in the world? Has that ever happened to you before?
Me?
Yes.
No. No. When I saw
like you never saw someone and were so sure and you didn't even talk to her before.
No. Tonza is the only person that did that to me.
Oh my goodness,
Tonza
that is
the only
amazing. That is fantastic. Okay, I'm going to ask Tonza. Tonza.
Yes.
Wow. What was it like for you, Mama? Like, seriously, what happened? You're like, this is a lot. This is wonderful, but
it was overwhelming. It was overwhelming. I was so focused. I was 21, not 20, in my second year of nursing school. And I was like, this is a major distraction. I do not want to engage in any type of relationship. I don't know who he is and what he's been smoking. Literally, that's what I told him. I said, but I am not going to be your wife. I am not going to be your wife. But that's how I felt in the moment, because it was so overwhelming and so very direct. But backstory to that is, when I have two older brothers and I have two older sisters and one younger than me. So my youngest brother was like, Tonza, what is it that you want in a husband? And I said, I don't know. I just want someone to love me. And he's like, no, you got to be very specific. So the backstory was, he told me to go and get a book, and a really nice book, not like a scratch piece of paper, and write down every characteristic that you want in a husband, so that when God presents him to you, you will know it's your husband and not lust. I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. So before I started nursing school, I got this really pretty little book from Target, and I wrote about 4 pages of in-depth details of what I wanted in a husband. And I put it away, and I didn't think anything else about it. So we met in April, and just like he said, I had never been on a plane before, and he invited me to come to Fort Lauderdale, which was the first box that I was able to check off in my book, because things I checked off in my book, as a little girl growing up in Mississippi, I knew I wanted to live by the water. And forever, I couldn't envision Maldives and all the other amazing places we visited. But what I could envision was Florida. And I said, one of the things I want to do is I want to visit Florida before starting nursing school. And that was the first box that was checked. And when he invited me, because he was still in U.S. Virgin Islands, which is where he's from, so when he invited me to go to Florida, that was the first thing that caught my attention.
Wow, you guys, this is already starting out. Amazing. Holy moly, this is so good. Okay, slow this down. Okay, so when you prior to this, I'm going to ask both of you guys this question. Where were you when it came to like relationships or love? Like, have you guys been married before, or did you guys have like already long relationships that didn't work out? Were you hopeful, or were you open? Like, kind of where were you before you two actually met, each one of you?
So yes, I was married before, right? I was married before, and it didn't work out the way that I thought it would work out, the way a marriage should work out. It's never, it shouldn't be competing priorities. It should be completing priorities. And so anytime there's a competition, there's never happiness, there's never joy, and then there's never progression. And that is not the life I wanted to live in the future. I wanted someone to complete me as I completed them.
Oh, I love that. Oh,
That's good.
yes. So after you got divorced then, so you were definitely um were you open again to, like, being married and falling in love again, or did it take you some time, or were you like, "No, I know that didn't work, but I know me as a human being that I'm not with the right person. Like I'm open again." Where were you at the time? Like where was your mindset?
Great question, Charlene. Yes. I at a very young age, the way I grew up, we know that life is never the straight and narrow. You can't give up in life because of one thing that caused you to be lifing, right?
Mm,
Life is always lifing.
mm.
It's today you're happy. Everything could be going go lucky, and then you get a phone call and you probably lost a family member or someone
Yes.
got into an accident. And so you have to make the decision that as long as I'm in here in life, I'm going to win,
Yeah.
right? It's not always going to turn
Yes.
out the way I want it to, but I have the ability, I have the choice to
To
make
remain
it,
open.
to remain open and make it what
Yeah.
it should be.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So you were definitely then, I love that. You were a person that looked at it completely in that way. Like, okay, just because it didn't work out, that's okay. But I'm still wanting to find love again, be in a marriage and do things differently. Is that kind of was so you were definitely open.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, beautiful. What about you, mama?
Well, so I have never been married. This is my first marriage. However, I was in a long term relationship prior to that actually resulted in my being a teenage mom. So I had my first daughter as I entered my senior year of high school, and long term relationship. Of course, puppy love. Didn't really know a lot about anything. Maybe some people can relate. Parents really didn't talk a whole lot either. So it's kind of
Mm,
like learning life trial and error. But even with that, and for those that can relate to that, our parents can educate us past who they are. And a lot of times our parents just didn't know how to have those conversations with us. But that doesn't mean that I shouldn't begin to have those conversations with my daughters early on.
Right.
So forgive them because they're doing the best they can, right?
yes,
So
yes.
that led me to being in a position to where being in a situation where I had to be focused. I did not need any distractions, which is why it came off as a distraction for me. Because at that point, it wasn't about me anymore. It was about my daughter. And but I was definitely open. I knew that I wanted to be married. Married was something that was so sacred to my heart. I grew
Mm,
up in a single parent household, and my husband grew up in a dual parent household. So I didn't have the ideal image of what a marriage should look like, but I just knew that it was a very blessed entity. And when I did it, I only wanted to do it once. Hence is why I didn't marry my daughter's father, even though he asked. I just knew I was mature enough to know that I was mature enough to know, yet immature enough to know that that was for that time. And a lot of times we play our lives, we draw our life out by a season. That was a season. And my question to me was, what are you taking out of the season? And I took a lot out of that season, but just because that was my season, just as the seasons change every single year, I know it's going to change too. But I have to be willing to open and understand it was for a season and a reason. There was something I was supposed to gain from that, but that did not dictate and that did not determine and should not determine who I chose as a life partner.
wow. That's amazing. No, that's amazing because, like, seriously, like when you just said that, I I kind of had a story a little bit like that too, but I was not that mature at the time. I always tell people I feel like I came from the jungle. Both of my parents are immigrants.
Yeah.
And so there was no it was wild. It was a wild ride. And I got pregnant too, mama. I got pregnant 3 months before I graduated high school. But I didn't know any better either. And I married the guy. I thought I was going to do the right thing. It wasn't necessarily the right thing, but that's okay. You know what? I have no regrets. Life happened the way it was supposed to
Right.
happen. And it took me to where I'm at today. So I too was like that. I was like, okay, this is not going to determine like me not going out and eventually finding love. But at the time, I was on a different mission. Like I was all about raising my child. I was a single mom too, very young. I was 19 when I got pregnant, and then I delivered him at 20. So that's so relatable. And the more I talk to a lot of women, that's definitely something that, that's happened to a lot of us.
Yeah.
So I love that you're sharing that. Okay. So you two then, had, obviously we all have our past. How did you go about then? Because I just understood. So he's open. He's like, I'm ready to do things differently, find love again, and really be the best husband I can. And then you were like, okay, I'm open, but I'm a little like, hey, I have a child. I have more in stake here. I want to make sure, right? Because it is, when we are single mamas, I'm telling you, it is a whole different ball game, because we're not just talking about ourselves. We're talking about our child too,
Right.
and that environment that we're going to put in. So let's go. So then you get to go to your first date, and then what starts happening with you two? How do we start falling in love?
So on the first date, of course, I rolled out the red carpet.
Yeah.
In the hotel, we went to the best malls. We went to the best restaurants. We talked a lot about our likes and dislikes. We really did.
Mm.
This is what I didn't like about this one, and this is what I didn't like about this. And then, hey, Jay, what you didn't like? What don't you like about you? And I was like, oh, and nobody ever asked me that. And Tonza is like, what you don't like about you? That's how you keep a conversation going. And I welcomed the fact that now, even though I knew that this person was going to be the one, but her intelligence
Mm.
was more attractive than her beauty. She's
Well,
super.
she has both. She has both. Look at her. I can imagine. Yes, I mean, she's a beautiful woman, but it was the intelligence. It was the inside that really drew you into her.
Yes, because most people would become intimidated by or most men. Let me say, most men would become intimidated by an intelligent woman. Well, if you look at it this way, why is she intelligent? It's because she's equipped to empower you to be the best version of yourself, right? Because the more equipped she becomes, the more equipped you need to be.
It's true. It's good.
I think that's where a lot of disparity happens, where there's a lot of friction, where they're not finding who they are to be the person for their person, and vice versa. And so there's a lot of friction, because now it seems like the relationship is starting to do like that. One is set and one is growing, and then all of a sudden we have nothing in common, and we didn't want that to happen. So we worked and we talked, we questioned each other. What's the likes, what's the dislikes? What are your goals for the future? What do you want to do? I've always been an entrepreneur. I hated working a job, right? Because if I give somebody the power to control my paycheck, I also give them the power to take it away. So I didn't like that environment. I didn't want that for the future and for our future. So
That's good.
Oh, that was really good. What I love, I'm just feedback. I'm gonna give you some feedback on that. What I love about that was like, it seems like to me that both of you definitely had intentions of like what you were looking for and how you wanted things to be. And you both were very open to being raw, real, honest, and vulnerable,
mhm.
because that, I think that is the key here, because it seems like you had that experience obviously with your ex-wife, and it seems like you were able to look back and reflect on like all of it, right? Like all of it. Say, okay, I saw where I showed up well. I saw where I didn't show up well. I
Yeah.
saw where I can do different thing now. And there seems like there was this, not a cockiness, but a confidence in you as a man, that you're like, I know who I am now. Like, I know what I can do and I can provide. And it seems like that's what you guys were really showing each other. And you too, Mama, Tonza, like you already were in a place in your life that you're like, okay, I don't know for sure if this is the guy, but I know that I got to be real and I got to be authentic. And I can't not tell him the truth and ask him real questions. Wow, you guys, right off, this is good. This is really good. Like, I wish, let's talk about that a little more. A lot of women, they listen, a lot of single ladies listen to the podcast. And what I realize is I really want them to hear this conversation on how you two actually came about, and you had actual intentions, different intentions. You did things differently than the typical way that people get together. Meaning, people will get together and they don't off the bat get real with one another.
Right.
They waste time, they keep it too surface, and then they wonder why they end up in relationships that are not satisfying, that are not alignment, where there's a lot of conflict. But you two already had this different view on where you want it to go. So let's talk about that a little more. It seems like both of you had intentions on what you were looking for. Is that correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, so you're on this date, and you're having these conversations. What's happening to either of you? Like, what are you guys feeling like? Wow, this is different, or yes, or I'm nervous. What was happening?
So, yes and no. For me, he definitely was checking all the boxes, except he was definitely checking all the boxes. But I still had a lot of hesitancy and reserve, because I wasn't sure how it was all going to work. And I had started my career path, and he lived in U.S. Virgin Islands, and I lived in Mississippi, and the distance there as well. So I was like, this is a great guy. He has a lot of great potential. One of the questions I asked to anyone I've ever dated was, where do you see yourself at 5 years? And if they told me they didn't know, then that was immediate turnoff for me, immediate. Because I just feel like if you don't know where you're going, I can't follow you.
Absolutely.
Right? Because if I'm supposed to follow you and you're supposed to take the lead, which I want you to, but you're not going to lead me to the unknown. Time to me is heaven's currency. I don't like wasting time. I like to maximize my time, because you can't get it back. So if you're unsure, let me leave you at that place of you, because you have to figure out what it is you want to do. But I'm not going to waste time trying to get you to where you already know you need to be. Sometimes we go into relationships and we're like, oh, we can change them or we can fix them. And that is true to an extent. You can, by number one, allowing that person being open and truth and transparent with you. And then also to you having the abilities to be our willingness to help them bridge that gap. But they still got to put in the work, right? They still got to put in the work. You can bridge the gap. You can lay the bridge. You can even bring the wood. But they got to get over the hump, and they have got to continue to get over the hump. It's kind of like when it comes to forgiveness. Forgiveness is, oh, I forgive you today. Forgiveness is something that you have to face every single day, because you're going to always have reminders along the way. So a lot of times coming into relationships and coming into marriages and just relationship in general, we all come with some type of baggage, right? So we have to recognize that baggage and just how big of a weight it's carrying. And also too, when you do offload your baggage, that person's got to be willing to carry it with you. And whether that is, children in a prior relationship or whatever have you, they have to be willing to help you carry that. Not to say that they're the one that's going to carry all of it. You have to put in the work, or else it does become a burden. So you got to get to the point. You got to ask the questions up front. You have to know where they are. And if they're not where they are, do you have the patience, skills, and the grace to be able to extend to them, and you're willing to work it together? But they got to put in the work.
Tonza, wow, there were so many nuggets there, Mama. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna just take a moment because I want to piggyback on some of this. Yes. Okay. What an amazing question that you just told us women to do if we're dating. And we go out and you're already telling us that have intentions of like what you're looking for, but also ask the questions. Like, be an advocate for yourself. know
Yeah.
what's going on. And one of the things I love that you said that you said that one of the questions to ask, which is so true. Oh my gosh. Ladies, isn't that amazing, that question? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Wow. That is going to say a lot about a man. That is going to say a lot about that person, ladies, who's right in front of you.
Yeah.
Right in front of you, depending on what they say. And depending on what they say, when I love that you also said, I want you to talk a little bit also again about how you were mentioning forgiveness. This really resonated with me in relationships, in anything. Like, you have to be able to forgive, move on. You got to get out of your way, because a lot of times we're only looking at things one way. And what you just said was so real and so raw, knowing that what it actually takes to have that relationship, and that transparency. Talk to me about more when you were talking about the forgiveness.
So forgiveness for me was really big because number one, I felt in a way growing up in a single parent household that I needed so much from my mom, but she didn't have the ability to give it to me. Hence why I moved in with my grandmother at 10, and my grandmother raised me until she passed away my senior year of high school. And she helped me truly learn forgiveness. She truly helped me to be able to love my mom for what she was able to give to me at that time. And that was huge for me. So which is why in the beginning I opened up by saying, people can't love you past who they are. A lot of times we're asking whether it's from your mom, your dad, in a relationship, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, yourself. People can't love you past who they are. So if they're showing you that's all they have, that's their capacity. So if you're not to say that the lid is full, don't get me wrong, there's a difference between capacity and that the lid is on tight. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Because when the lid is on tight, they are at capacity and they're not changing. And you recognize that too. But when you have somebody that's at capacity, you do have the ability to enlarge your territory. God has the ability to enlarge your territory so you can take on more. But in taking on more, that means you have to be able to put in more too. So forgiveness, like I said, that was huge for me with my mom, because I felt like, gosh, I needed her to be that person. But now all hope is not lost. Because I'm able to be that individual or that mom that my girls needed me to be at 10, at 12, at 13, at 14. My daughters are 26, 23, 22, and 16. And I can honestly say every stage that they are right now in life, I'm able to show up. So for me, I knew that for us as women, we are emotional individuals. We are. And which means that when you're dating someone or considering dating someone, and this is the advice I give to my daughters, you can't, men typically, or I know my husband, I'm not speaking for all men, are typically, they think here, they're doers and they go here first. We go here first and then we go here. Right. So when you're speaking to someone, you have to begin the conversation with what resonates with you. What resonates with me is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Instead of asking, do you want kids? Do you want to be married? Do you see yourself living in Atlanta forever? Are you open to traveling? Just ask them the question. Where do you see yourself at 5 years from now? And if they tell you, I'm going to be here, I'm planning on living with my mama forever, I don't want to live in my small town, I don't plan on even going back to school and get a promotion, do you see yourself in that life? Because they're telling you exactly what they're going to do. That's your opportunity to choose to continue or to move on. So it's where do you see yourself in that picture? Because he's already having his mind, his picture. And if he's going to be next door to his mama forever and you don't want that, and he tells you that, that's what he's going to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Believe him. So you have to start there, and then based off of the answer you get, can you fit yourself in that picture? Can you fit yourself in that picture? One of the things my husband and I really strive to every single day and every single year is, and he said it earlier, is making sure that one person is not growing and the other person is here. From the him, even though he was working as a chemical engineer, he told me his desire is to be an entrepreneur. So I was like, me too. So even though that's where he shared his desires. I fit into that plan because that's what I do. Because ultimately, what we both wanted was freedom of time. And that is what we wanted. So I was like, okay, this is where we are, but I know where he's going and I could follow him on that journey. And ladies, right? You should, when you're on the path of self-discovery, number one, that's self, right? Happiness is you, your happiness. Don't expect anybody to bring you happiness. When you're on your path of self-discovery, know that when you meet someone, you're going to have to make adjustments, but you should not have to abort your path. There is a difference. Yes, you're going to have to make adjustments because it's two lives becoming one.
Yes.
But if you're to the point where you have to abort your path and completely walk away from everything, then you have to consider that too. Now, of course, if you're dating someone who's in the military and all of that, I mean, you can't do anything about that. But that's also something you have to agree to too. Is there may be extensive long periods of time where you are a single mom and you got to ask yourself, is this something I want to do? Is this a lifestyle I want? So know that you're going to have to make adjustments, but you should never have to abort who you are, the foundation you've laid, and you should never lose yourself in any relationship.
I'm glad you said that, because to the single men out there, right? It's all about value, right? If you bring nothing to the table with to someone that has something, what do you think is going to happen?
Mm.
So if I'm planting a tree, right, and I really want the tree to grow, I got to know at some point in time, in order for that tree to marry to the next level, there has to be pruning,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, okay, I got to prune away maybe going to the clubs. I got to prune away maybe hanging out with the boys. So now I can put myself in a position
Mm-hmm.
that now I have value. I have my own home, or maybe I have my own apartment, but it's paid up for the year. I have money in the bank. I have my own car. I'm not relying on mama.
Mm-hmm.
So now when I come and I say I want to be the man in your life, then here's my value I'm bringing.
Right.
Here is the goals and dreams I have. Now, can you fit into this so that this can flourish for both of us? While as it flourishes for both of us, it can fuel your dreams and your goals.
It's true.
Because it has to weigh. It's no 50-50. It's 100-100.
It's true.
Such thing as 100-100, right? And sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, the man might be at 20 with a dream of 100, with a dream of 80, and the ladies at 50 with enough to bring his 20 up to a 50. So now they can both
Yeah.
go to 100.
That's
So
good.
it's you're going to come in to compete again. Go back to that word compete and not complete. Don't do it. Don't do it, because it's not going to last. So when you out there and you see people get married and in 6 months it's over, it's because no one knew where anyone else was going.
Yeah.
Oh, you look good. In the public, we look good. But is our looks going to take us to where we want to go? Or is what we discuss as far as dream and goals and abilities and likes and dislikes that's going to take us to where we want to go?
That's good. Babe.
Oh wow, you too. It's good. Oh my goodness. Yeah, hey, yes. This is why, no, again, this is why you two are on today. Because we need to hear this. And I work with a lot of single ladies. And a lot of times, the work is all about like who you choose to be your life partner, like who you choose to marry will actually determine your overall happiness.
Oh yeah.
Because you have to really have intentions on who you choose. You can't just choose anybody. You can't just choose someone based on, like we talk about, where I always feel like it just trips everyone off is just the chemistry. Okay, the chemistry would only get you so far. It's the compatibility. It's the same alignment, the same goals. And that's why you two, like, there is a way, ladies and gentlemen, to do this.
Mhm.
There is a way to slow things down like these two did and had different intentions, different questions, and really understanding, like, who is this person here, right? I'm going to give this time to get to know this person and make sure what I'm saying to them and what they're saying to me is in alignment. Like, we're going to be on the same path, because what you guys just talked about is so important to do when you first get to know someone, when you first are meeting someone, because ultimately, I tell everyone, ultimately, like, you're actually choosing who you want to be with.
Yeah.
You're not being forced. You get to decide. So if you're in a relationship that is, having a lot of struggles and there's no alignment and everything like that, go back to the beginning. Like, who did you choose to do life with? Because if you slow it down and you ask the questions and you have these intentions, you're going to get the answers. And that's what I'm learning from both of you today. You actually have to have different intentions and have, questions that normally that we're not used to doing. That's
Yeah.
so amazing. So now you're with this woman and you're just blown away. You're like, "Oh my God, first of all, she's gorgeous. Second of all, like, this is different. I never had a lady talk to me like that. I never had a lady ask me where I'm going in the 5 years." How sexy was that for you? Seriously.
It actually, the sexiness came from the questions,
Mhm.
because the questions fill a gap that, oh, I'm going to be empowered by this woman. I'm not going to be challenged, right? Because there's a way, like you said, to do things, and you can come out demanding what you want, or you can say, here is what I'm willing to give. This is what I bring to the table. See, when you demand, you demean
Mm.
because you look to dominate,
Mm.
right? But when you come and ask the right questions and say, hey, look, this is who I am. This is my value. This is what I bring to the table. Based on where you're going, I think this could fit here. And but this is what I want too. When we get you to where you're going, this is what I want too. So now I'm like, oh, that's more important to me than mine's now. Why? Because it will propel me to fulfill mine's faster so I can make sure I keep my promise to her. So most singles ladies might say, "Well, I don't want to wait. I want mine now. I want to shine." Well, is it attention or is it longevity you're looking for? Because you might want to shine right now with someone that can give you longevity, but because he's taken a minute to get to where he got to go, the other person that seemed to have arrived there, you now leave him for that person and realize he doesn't want longevity, he wants the attention. So
Mm.
now you have two people craving attention going head and head
Mm.
together rather than having longevity, you have a divorce.
Mm.
Oh, definitely. Thank you for saying that. That is so true. And what do you think then it is like, for obviously you're giving us your perspective. So ladies, we're getting the man's perspective. We're really getting the man's perspective because we talk about that all the time. Like, we're always trying to, like, figure things out, us women together. No, we actually got to get the man's perspective. So here we go. So for you, then, you are on this date with this lady. You already knew this is the one for you. But you still got to convince her you are. So you're on this date with this lady, right? You're like, what? Tons, this is wonderful. But you said again, it was different because of the questions that she was asking you. You were falling for her based on her intelligence, not trying to impress you. She doesn't sound like she was trying to impress you. It sounds like she was really wanting to get to know you and see if there was that fit for her.
Correct.
Is that what it was? That something you've never experienced before in a woman?
No, I've never experienced that. It's always, you know, look how good I look. You know, you know, it's not, and yes, you can speak well. You might even have the degrees, but questions let a man know that, okay, You really want to know who I am and I'm interested in you, but I'm cautious to see if you are who you say you are. When a woman starts to question a man and he gets uneasy, the reason uneasiness shows up is because what he just told you is not true.
Yes. Mama,
Sometimes.
okay, so that's perfect. That's really good. Okay, so now you're on the date with him and
Hmm.
you guys are having conversation. What's going on with you? I want to hear Tanta. Like, well, now what are you starting to feel by his answers?
Well, he really didn't have answers. He didn't have answers because it was all new to him. But he didn't shy away from them. He and he says, I've never had anybody ask me that before. And he says, well, it's either you're really curious or you really care about me. And I said, well, I don't know where this is going to lead, but I do hope that you ultimately get what it is you're looking for. And I may or may not be her, but I do need you to have clarity on what it is you want, right? Um, and so it was his effort that he was putting in and his openness and his truth and transparency of saying, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I've never been asked that question before. He just kept saying, you're so different. You're just so different. And he's like, you're so young, but you're so mature. And I said, yeah, I mean, young age has nothing to do with maturity and clarity. Maturity does not equate to clarity, right? Clarity comes from the valleys. Clarity comes from the mountaintops, and you merge those two together, you have clarity.
Yeah.
You should know exactly what it is you want, and where you're going. And if you don't do anybody any disservice by inviting them on this journey that you're unclear about.
Mhm.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So you were just like, so he's like, wow, she's really like, oh my goodness. Like, what am I going to do here? I'm crazy about this woman because every time she talks, I've never experienced in this. And I am willing as a man to completely open up and figure this out with her, even though I'm not gonna BS her. I'm gonna tell her I've never experienced this. I don't even know what to do, but I am willing to figure it out with you. Was that kind of like at that moment where you were?
Yeah, and it's very humbling and,
Yeah.
and humility too. And he was willing to initially, and that said a lot about his integrity, about his character, about who he is genuinely. And that was like, wow, okay.
Mhm.
You're like, yes, wow. Oh my goodness. Okay, so then you guys go on this date. You both were like, I've never experienced this before. And we obviously live different places. So there's something here. There's something here. I can tell he was like, oh, I'm going to figure this out. And you were like, okay, let's see if you're going to figure it out. But there's something here. So what ends up happening with you two? Like, what you guys decided, okay, we're going to keep going. You went back to where you lived.
Not at
Huh?
all. Not at
Well, then
all.
what happened? No, what happened?
Oh, so the day to fly back home,
You gonna tell this part for real?
I am. I went
I
back.
got it. Let's get real. I want to hear the truth. Look at him. Look at him. He's getting all crazy.
And he took me, stretch limo back to the airport. And I said, hey, you're an amazing guy.
Charlene, this is wrong.
I said, you're an amazing guy, and you have a very, very kind and tender heart. However, I am not your wife, and I wish you well in all of your, and I hope that you have much success with your life. And he just laughed. He just said, you are so funny. And he said, you're still going to be my wife, and we're still going to get married. I said, well, we shall see.
We
And that
shall
was
see. Where were you? We were like, where'd she go?
Oh my goodness, Charlene, I call that girl
every day.
every day.
Oh my gosh. This is so good. This is so good, you guys. This is so good.
So timeline, we met in April at the wedding in Maryland, and we met up in Florida in July.
Mhm.
And School started, August the next month. Things got a little busy. He was very persistent. He kept calling. Um, and then something very unique happened. Um, in
September.
about
Yeah.
September,
Mhm.
he kept calling every day to the point where I wouldn't even answer the calls anymore because in my mind, I was just done. But he kept calling and he didn't mind. Back then, landline was a thing. So I was still at home with my mom. So he would call and my mom, and my mom didn't like anybody, but somehow she was very fond of Jay.
She
Um,
liked the conversation. She's like, "Hi, Jay."
yeah, she had somebody to talk to. It was her
Oh
friend.
man.
Um, yeah, it was her friend. She had somebody to talk to on her landline besides her other girlfriends from bingo, right? So about September, 3 days went by.
Hmm.
And again, I'm still simultaneously, while this is all going school and he's still in the Virgin Islands, I'm still looking at my book and he's still checking a lot of things off that book. So 2 days had went by and now we're on the third day and I haven't heard from him. So again, like I said, he's still checking boxes. So I'm keeping my pulse on it, but just really not giving it a lot of energy.
How many
So
months is this now? Like in general?
so we April, May, June, July, August, September, 5. So we're 5 months in.
Ooh, 5 months in. Okay, okay.
5 months in, and we're still not dating, just talking and not really talking. So the third day, it was around, came home from school, it was like 6 o'clock. And I asked my mom, I said, "Hey, did Jay call today?" She's like, "No, I guess you finally ran him away." And I was like, "Oh, okay, well, maybe." So I picked the phone up and I called him and I said, "Hey, Jay, this is Tonza." And he put the phone down. He just started screaming like ballistic. He went crazy. And I was like, "This is why I don't call you because you're really low-key weird." But he went crazy. And he was like, "Oh my God, thank you, Jesus." He was so excited. And then he was like, "I'll call you back." And I was like, "But I just called you." So the next day he called and he says, "How close are you to New Orleans?" I said, "New Orleans is like 4 hours." He's like, "Okay, I'll call you back." Then another 2 days went by and he called back and he says, "There is a refinery in New Orleans, same company that's in the US, St. Croix, US Virgin Islands." He says, "I'm going to get a job transfer." And I said, "Why are you going to do that?" He says, "Because I know for sure you're going to be my wife now, and I just have to be closer to you. And it doesn't make any sense for me to be so far away from you." And I said, "Please do not do that. Please do not do that." I said, "Because I don't want you to come here. And just because you come, I'm not going to be obligated to date you. And I don't want you to give up everything." He's like, "Oh God, you're so funny." He was like, "No, I know now. I know now." Well, fast forward. He ended up moving to New
New
Orleans
Orleans. Yeah.
in October.
Yes.
And he was so excited. So for those of you that are familiar with the US Virgin Islands, they drive on the left-hand side of the road, right? And so it's a big difference being in the States than here. So I was so concerned about his safety and being able to drive in the States. But he figured it out. So he got his first paycheck, bought him a car. And at that point, my oldest sister and I had moved out. We had an apartment. She was at Mississippi University for Women. I was in nursing school. And he would drive 4 hours. So now we're in October. So now 6 months in.
Okay, 6 months.
6 months in. So October, November, December. Those 3 months, I would carpool. My school was an hour and a half away. So I would carpool. And he would drive sometimes 4 hours to my sister's and I apartment. And he would just say, "Leave your keys under the door." I wouldn't see him. And he would come in and he would clean my apartment. He would take my uniforms to the cleaners. He would gas up my car. He would take it to be detailed and he would leave these beautiful notes all around the apartment. And that is what caught my attention. So I went back to my book. And literally everything that he was doing was checking the boxes. Then I got scared.
Of course you did.
Yeah, yeah. Then I got scared. So then I called my brother. I said, "Oh my God." I said, "Do you know that book you told me to write? Literally everything he's doing, this guy personality is literally," he's like, well, praise God. I said, no, not praise God. I said, because now this could actually be my husband. I was like, I'm too young for this. I have my whole, what do you mean? I was like, this is crazy. And he said, well, no, that's really, really good, Tonza. So then in December, about November, Thanksgiving is when he showed up. I was like, okay, well, I guess you need to meet my family since you're here. So he was off that week and I felt bad. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna take you to meet my mom for Thanksgiving. So I introduced him to my family on Thanksgiving. Everybody loved him. He was just so happy to be there and have a good home cooked meal. So anyway, that happened. Then I was like, okay, maybe this is my person. Then I seriously started putting attention to him, effort into the relationship. We officially started dating in December and January. So now we're 8 months in. So January rolls around and he says, you know what? I am going to we're just gonna move in together. And I was like, oh no, we can't do that. I was like, my parents are gonna kill me. He says, oh, but it's okay, Tonza, we're gonna be married. I was like, you're moving really, really fast. And but at that point, I had really, really started developing strong relationships, strong feelings for him. He was definitely the person he said he was going to be 100% of the time. And it wasn't even about seeing me because there was days he would literally come up 3 times a week and we didn't even see each other for probably like every 3 weeks because of his schedule and my schedule, but he still was consistent in showing up. If he knew I didn't that week, he would still come up, do all the things I needed to do for the house. He was like, we're in school, you're working, you're busy. I just want to make sure you don't have that to worry about. So he really truly took the lead. So he ended up moving in January and February 14th on Valentine's Day. The next month he proposed and we were married in May.
Ladies, 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 if you don't learn anything today, I don't know what to tell you. I'm just going to say something. Okay, mama, wow.
Yeah.
One of my sayings is that it's not what someone says. It's actually how they show up. And it actually takes time to get to know someone to see if their words are going to, really match their actions.
Mhm.
Because any guy can say whatever he wants to say, right? Like any guy can, say, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and this and that. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, but let's see it because that's what makes the difference. And when you find yourself, falling for someone and you rush it and you're not really being in that position to understand, okay, so let me see if this guy is actually going to match what he's saying. And you rush that. And then or you those red flags where like, okay, well he said he was this way, but gosh, he's really not, and you
Yeah.
ignore that. This is where we get in trouble. This
Yeah.
is why things don't work out. This is why we are like, oh, relationships are hard, relationships are bad, because you're not taking the time exactly what you did. You're not taking the time to see, okay, this man is, saying all these things. He's saying this and he's saying that, but let me see
Yeah.
where he really is. Wow. And let me give you kudos. How in the world did you continue on like that? To me, again, another like wow moment. How did you continue on moving forward and really wanting to show her, knowing that she was not giving you at the time, what you wanted? Because she was still like, hey, 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 it's like you were leaning in with him, but you were also like leaning back. You're leaning in. This is how it is. This is the dance, you guys, ladies. This is the dance. This is the dance. Okay. How I want the ladies to hear you as a man, knowing that she is not going full in with you, but you can feel something, but you kept going. What was it for you?
So Charlene, what really brought clarity to everything that I was doing? And first of all, it was being consistent. And I was
Right.
like,
The
okay,
process.
I created a process of consistency because that's who I am. But in my inconsistency, I says, I'm going to give 3 days. I say, God, If she doesn't call me on the third day, then with all the work and efforts I put in, I'm happy with knowing that even though I thought that was my person, that is not my person, right? And so when she called, it confirmed, and that's all I needed, and that's all I needed. And I continue to build the trust of who I am for her by being consistent. And that's the thing. Most people don't finish what they started, because how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Mhm.
And so if you're not consistent before we get married, why are you expecting me to be consistent when we are married?
That's so good. You see, again, are you guys listening to this? It really does come down to that. Because anyone can say whatever they want to say, but it's the consistency. It's continuously, no matter what. Like, every time she had her little roadmap, he was like, it's okay, here we go, here we go. And then she'd break out with another roadmap. He's like, it's okay, we go. We're gonna adjust, we're gonna go like this. Wow. You guys, I really feel like I didn't know where this conversation, we're not done, but I didn't know where this conversation was going to go today, because I knew it can go anywhere based on, we could have talked about, the relationship as you're married now and the things at work and things at work, or we could talk about like how you guys actually got together and had real good alignment. And I think that's was the conversation that really needed to be said today, because this is where people are struggling the most.
Mhm.
They're really struggling in the sense of like these relationships that are not fulfilling, relationships that are toxic, relationships that they ignored the red flags, the relationships that they didn't have what you guys decided to do, what you guys really did it. You did it in a way that I really believe like all of us should do relationships in the beginning, how to take your time, find it out. I love both of you. I love his consistency with you, even though you're like, oh, okay, bye. And I love that you actually called him back, mama, because it has to go both ways. He needed to know what he just said, that okay, I'm not wasting my time, right? You didn't have to do anything different than what you did, and that was perfect. Like that was really perfect. So now you guys find out, oh my goodness, like this is it, and you realize, okay, this is my man. Like you're like, this is the one for me. He already knew. We already know that. Like, he was like, it don't matter. This is my girl. But for you, because ultimately, ladies, I say this all the time too. I said it really is. It truly is a man's job to pursue the woman, but it is a woman's job to set the pace. Us women have this opportunity, ladies, to set the pace. And you don't have to go fast. You can set the pace. That's the dance. And that's the beauty of what you two did. So I hope you guys can learn from this. I really hope that if you are dating right now, and you're like, oh, okay, wow, I got to slow this down. I got to do things a little differently. I really hope you're listening to both of their story on why they did the things they did. And remember, even the very first date, he was all in. He was totally in his masculine. He was like, yes. And she was the one, listen to that. She was the one like, okay, I like this, but hey, it's going to take a little time. I gotta make sure that you're a man of your word.
Mhm.
Oh, I love you too. This is awesome. So you guys go then and you are like, okay, this is really working. And then what happens? We get married?
We do. We get married. Our entire wedding was like $100 because I was in nursing school. And it did what we realized that it wasn't about that. And of course, for I wanted to wait. And so after nursing school, we were
Yes.
just getting married, just getting started. And we had a marriage counseling session. We did do that. Definitely highly recommend it. And our bishop was like, well, what is it that's more important? Is it the covenant or is it your dress? Do you want a big wedding or do you want God's blessings on your life? And I said, well, I want to have God's blessings because the wedding, we can always have it later. So we did. We literally, at that point, we had found a home that we found our home. We got married literally in the home. Our entire wedding was like $100. We got married that day, May 24th, and we came home, and it was Memorial Day weekend. So my brother like barbecuing or something. We're like,
Yeah.
oh, great, wedding reception. So we go over to his house, and that was our wedding reception. And 7 years later, we actually had the wedding of our dreams. We
Yes.
renewed our wedding vows. We had the wedding of our dreams. And it was absolutely amazing. And I wouldn't choose to do it any other way. At that point, we were more established. We had two homes by then. We had our children, our family. Everything was beautiful. And that's when we had our wedding. We didn't have bridesmaids. We didn't have groomsmen. We didn't have any of that because we're like, we don't need all of it. It's not for them. It's for us. Our children was our bridal party.
Yes.
I think the only person that participated in our wedding that wasn't one of our kids was his sister that sung the Lord's Prayer. And that's it.
Oh,
And
that's amazing because you guys had because you already had a daughter before. So how old was your daughter at the time when you guys got the actual wedding?
oh gosh, I don't know.
She's
She is
little teenager. I don't know. I get, but you had her and then did you guys have children together?
We do. So
Yes.
our baby was one at
1
the
year
time.
old. Yes.
Yeah. Anna was one at the time. Yeah. So then we had our honeymoon and all the things that we didn't have in the beginning. So it's okay to have a small wedding. What you don't want to delay is God's blessings on your life. And
Yes.
we're, yeah. So here we are.
And you guys, okay, let me ask you this. With both of you, did you guys know, or did that come later, how you guys both wanted to have God in your life and God be over your marriage?
Oh no,
Was that something that
was
was
first.
that something that was always first, right? So that was something that you both knew that was your priorities.
Yes.
Well, coming from both prior relationships, right? We were my husband is very much. I knew when we're looking at marriages, I knew that there's going to be days I don't like him. Those days he's not going to like me either. I knew that this was a path that I didn't know anything about. So I didn't want to face this path without God's guidance because I didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't know how to be a wife. I didn't barely knew how to be a mom. But I did know how to be a wife. And for him coming in, that was another question was what are we building this marriage on? Like, what is our foundation? And our foundation had to be unwavering because we knew that in anything in life, you're going to have things coming at you all the time. There's going to be days I don't agree with you. There's going to be days you don't agree with me either. But what is our foundation? What can we both go back to and say, this is what it is? And it was our faith. It was our relationship with God. It was our faith. So that was our foundation. And if that wasn't there, then we wouldn't be here.
What I love about that, I just want to just say this to you that, so I get married with my husband now, and we were everything, like everybody else, like everything was great. We're good communication. He was married before, I was married before, we're older. Everything was awesome. Okay. And then life happens. And if you don't, like, life happens, stress starts happening. He had things that happened with his family, things that started affecting him that he wasn't aware of. And that really started affecting our relationship because he wasn't able to like deal with the life stuff, right? And what happens is then we started realizing that we didn't have the foundation. And the foundation was God that we did not have. Because when life happens, like you said, and you don't have like an actual way to do life, do relationships and guidance, because when you just rely on yourself, then you're pretty much in the flesh.
Yeah.
And you're pretty much in the flesh and you're just looking at it your own way, right? You're not able to like say, okay, there is a way to do relationships. There is a way that God intended us to have a relationship. So that to me was the biggest shift in my marriage, to where even though, we talk about communication, we talk about, consistency, we talk about all those things that we do need to apply in a relationship. Absolutely. Because love is not enough. But what changed us and keeps us like really solid as a couple is our faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And until we brought God into our relationship, I was nervous because I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine, because I love the love was there, you guys. Me and my husband have love for each other.
Mm-hmm.
But it was not, it was just the alignment, the all the other things that come with it when you don't have that center core, which is God. And I have now also, with the work that I'm doing, I really help people when it comes to relationships, when it comes to like finding your person. But I'm realizing now that there is that missing link, and it's
Yeah.
not going to be for everyone, and I wish it was.
Yeah.
Because that will keep you. I want you to talk a little bit about why having God also as your foundation is important and what that actually does to your marriage. So if you guys can talk about that, I appreciate that.
You know, he made us in his own image, right? And he made us to dominate the earth. But he also made man first, and then he made woman, right? So what brings the whole circle complete was he says marriage is a good thing, right? If it's a good thing to the one who created us, then it should be a good thing to the ones who make it what it is. And so if I go to who created me, even though, like Tonza said, I had no idea how to be a wife. Well, there's a roadmap. There's a roadmap. And if I follow the roadmap of the creator, there's no way I could go wrong. Will I make mistakes along the way? Yes. Welcome them. Why? Because that's the only way you know it's a mistake, so that you can correct it and move forward to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, for me, marriage, having God, just even within marriage. So a God is a relationship, right? You have to have a relationship. It's not a religion, it's a relationship. And throughout my entire life, that is the one relationship that has been very consistent. And for me, going into a marriage or a covenant with my husband without someone that has always been there, that has never failed me, that has provided me guidance, I just couldn't see it happening. So I don't trust myself enough to make decisions because we're not perfect.
That's right.
We strive to be perfect every day. But I just didn't trust myself enough. So with him, also having a strong foundation and a strong faith, a strong foundation and relationship with God, independently of me,
Hmm.
then of course us coming together, I'm like, as long as we keep him center, then and keep him first, then everything else will fall into place.
Yeah.
It does. You get out of your own way. You get
Hmm.
out of your own way. You're able to look at things differently. You're able to say, okay, it's not just about me. I gotta slow down here. Seriously, I love the fruit of the Holy Spirit, which
Yeah.
is all the goodness, which is right. Like I have this thing on my wall. I'm like, oh my goodness, patience, love, kind, all of it. Like that's the fruit of the Holy Spirit. Oh my goodness, you guys, this has been like amazing. Like, let me ask you something. Let me ask you something because I'm going to have you back on because there's more here. Seriously. I feel like we just scratched the surface today and I've got so many nuggets. But let me ask you this. Like, how is life now? What are you guys looking forward to in the future as a couple?
Hmm.
Oh, absolutely. Great question. We're looking forward to making sure that we impact the world with the knowledge that's been hidden from the world, um, both in marriage and in business. It's all about relationship. We want to make sure that people have the right relationships in their relationship, but also have the right relationships with their finances.
Hmm.
Everything is relationship. And if you have the wrong relationship with finances, that is the one thing that rips apart the relationship with the person that you love the most. So you need to marry the two, right? And you have to have one. They both need to grow, but one needs to grow significantly more than the other, right? So that it can provide a peace of mind that people are looking for, to live the life they want to dream. Because at the end of the day, I love how you say it, my love, that time is heaven's currency, right?
Yeah.
And in everything that we do in life, we are chasing time,
Yeah.
because after 18, you're really running out of time. so, so with that said, that's what I would say. That's what I would
Yeah,
say to
for
that.
me, what I'm looking forward to most is now that we're on a downhill spectrum. of our kids. We have a lot of young adults. Our baby girl is 16. She's in her sophomore year of high school. Our oldest is 26. And what I'm looking forward to is now getting to spend every waking moment with this guy. We our 20s and our 30s, raising our children. And now that we're pleasantly in our 40s, which I think we still have a lot of life ahead of us.
We do.
I'm looking forward to getting to know who he needs me to be at this level of his life. And that is key in marriage, is to grow. Don't try to love your spouse as the person were when you met them.
Right.
So if you met them in your 20s, they don't need that 20-year-old version of you anymore. They don't need that version of you anymore. So now the person he needs me to be now, I'm looking forward to being that person for him. Professional wise, we're definitely looking to share the light and be examples to individuals that you can be in business with your spouse, that it is worth it and it can work. That you can, be successful outside of corporate America. There's nothing wrong with getting degrees, but above all else, you want to make sure that you get something that leaves a true inheritance. An inheritance and a legacy comes from the ability to impact lives when you're no longer here. We both did the educational route. We both have the degrees, but at the end of the day, we can't will any of those piece of papers to our children. What we can will to them is to show them what it's like to start something from ground up, and that is a business, and that is entrepreneurship. Skill set now will get you further in life than any educational degree. Not to say that it's nothing wrong with that, because we do have both. And also, to professional wise, is helping individuals understand that when it comes to finances, that is we want, our goal is to make it a normal conversation in relationship, a normal conversation in marriage. And by first starting off by saying forgive yourself, right?
Yes.
Because it's not a normal conversation. It's a lot of hesitancy. People think they need to be ultra rich to be able to start the conversation, and it's not. I love to say by forgiving yourself, because we were not taught this information in school. Nobody is having this conversation. Just like my parents at the beginning of the conversation, my mother could not love me past who she was. You cannot educate your kids past what you don't know either. So if you're in a system and they're teaching them this way, and you have a traditional retirement or 401k IRAs and it's not working, but you're telling your kids to go do the same thing and you already know it's not working, or you're on a job that you hate and now you're challenging them to be the best in the school, valedictorian, salutatorian, to get a job that you also hate. What are we actually teaching them? We're not teaching them to trust their intuition, to be able to stand on their own 2 feet. So the objective, and what I'm so looking forward to, is creating normal conversations about finances, helping people understand that forgiving themselves, that they don't have a foundation to pull from, because we were not taught this information in school. However, it's in every book that you can possibly think of. And that's one of the things that we do when we do mentor and coach relationships as well as business owners, and do our financial business, is we share with them where they can go to get this information. And it's very, very important. So.
Oh my goodness, you guys, listen. They're gonna share with you, as she just shared with you, what they actually do and how they help people.
Yes. So what we actually do is for financial literacy, and I know I hate to say that term because it's been thrown around so loosely a lot, especially on social media, but I like to say the reason why I say financial literacy is because so many individuals are illiterate when it comes to finances.
Correct.
What we know is what we've been told, but what we've been told is not working. So that's the reason why I stick with financial literacy. Also, to understanding, and what we do is to teach people that financial literacy is not one thing. Financial literacy is everything. If you are wanting to start a business, if you are wanting to send your kids to college, if you're wanting to buy a home, if you're wanting to buy a car, start an investment or stocks, you can't do any of those things without money, without capital. So that's why I say financial literacy is everything. It's not just one thing. A diversified portfolio is also something, but while my portfolio is already diverse, what does that actually mean? The true diversification only exists in tax-free and tax-deferred. So how much do you have in tax-free and how much do you have in tax-deferred? The ultimate goal is to help individuals reroute and refunnel majority of their monies to tax-free accounts. We do what's called a financial needs analysis. All of our consultations are free. How you can get in contact with us in regards to financial space as well as relationship space, you can follow me on Instagram. I use that platform a lot. That's my go-to platform. My husband as well. And in my bio is a link that you can actually be able to book a free consultation, whether that is finances or whether that is business mentoring coaching. It is free because I can't help you if I don't know where you are first. So we like to start with what we call a discovery. And my Instagram handle is my first name. That's Tonza, Tonza underscore Christian, my last name underscore CEO. And you can click the link in my bio there and set up a free consultation.
Oh, that's beautiful. You guys, you know what is so important about this is that they have honestly figured it out, which is really it's for all of us. Like your finances also affect your relationship that you have with one another. And if you are wanting to have this amazing relationship with your person and really grow as an individual, but grow as a couple, you have to look at the finances. It's everything. Because if the finances are not in alignment and you are struggling, and and we've all been there, you guys, like I understand this, like seriously, and but living paycheck to paycheck, sometimes when you realize, wow, we actually make more than we're thinking, but we don't know how to manage the money. And that's why, and when you are not knowing how to manage the money and the money is not working for you,
Right.
seriously, and you're not having these conversations, that can really affect your relationship. First of all, your relationship that you're going to have with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and then the relationship that you're going to have with your spouse. So this is such a beautiful, very, very important tool that all of us, that I'm telling you, can benefit from.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're listening to this conversation, and as you guys hear today, these two have, there's no perfect relationship, there's no perfect anything, and that's not what we're hearing today. We're hearing that they have ways of doing things and they learn, and they're also putting things in place to have a great relationship. So, because life is going to happen, as we talked about, but when life happens, we can't fall apart, like seriously, we can't fall apart. And that's what I love about this. So, take a look at that. Like, take just, it's okay. It's all of us, you guys. I know there's some people out there that, really got it figured out. But I'm telling you, I've talked to so many people about relationships. I talked to so many people about money and stuff like that. And this is that area. This is that area. So first of all, thank you for doing what you're doing, because couples need this a lot. They need this, and they don't need it in the sense of like just going to your typical, accountant or whatever, the financial people that are just so this is completely different. This
Yeah.
is, we're going to really understand your finances and help you guys, but we're also putting in the heart there when it comes to the relationships and
Yeah.
why that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that about you too. And I'm going to leave their link in the show notes, and Shia just mentioned it again. And definitely, get in their world, follow them, because I wanted to bring on guests that are really having these awesome relationships and knowing that they've gone through a lot to get there, but they made it work. So we're not going to follow someone that doesn't have has a great relationship. No, we're going to follow people that can help us, and we can learn and we can grow. And that's what these two are all about. I want to give you guys also the last word, because so we have people listening today, and I want them to understand there's hope.
Yeah.
There's hope. You can actually really find a person that is in alignment with you. And you can also, if you're in a relationship, you can definitely change things around and slow down and, humble ourselves, right? Look inwards, and maybe that's exactly where you're at. Maybe you do need the Lord in your life. Maybe you don't have him. And maybe that's something I want you to start to really look at and consider. Also, I want you to really consider, okay, so what are our issues in our marriage? And maybe it is finances, and that's something that you don't have to have that an issue in your marriage. That's something that you can actually have it be something that's very strong and empowering, encouraging, instead of being so, hell and hard and heavy. There's ways to flip that. So what do you two want to leave it where, people are listening to this and they're like, oh, okay, what do I do? Where do I start?
Thank you so much, Charlene, for the
Yes.
platform. We greatly appreciate you, first of all, and to the audience. Always start with the right foundation.
Mm.
You cannot make it in life without God. 20 years, going on 21 years of marriage. I'm here to tell you, yes, she was my girl when I first saw her. She still is my girlfriend. But He is the glue. He really is, right? You got to have the right foundation.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing is make sure that you bring yourself from a liability to an asset value in your marriage.
Mm.
Don't be scared to talk about this thing that everybody's scared to talk about, especially when they think they don't have it, which is finances.
Mm.
The thing is, though, if you are your finance and you stop, what happens to the finance?
Mm.
So, are you a liability value or an asset value? That is what we bring to the table in every area of your life. You need to make sure that you are an asset value with God. Guess what? The more you seek Him, the greater your value of His knowledge is put into you. Therefore, what you put in is what you put out. Financially, it goes the same way, hand in hand. Create the right relationships, because at the end of the day, the beauty you're looking for, it is truly in the eyes of the beholder.
Wow. That's good,
Yeah,
honey.
love you.
Very good. Um, that's really good. So he already said foundation. So that will be definitely my number one. But what I would say to all the ladies out there, to all the single moms, to all those who may have given up hope on love, to know that love is not external. Love is internal. You can't find what you can't find what you have not first discovered within. So you have to, we hear this cliche, love yourself, self-love, la la la. It's okay to be a boss chick and an amazing wife. It's okay to be a boss chick and a awesome mom. It's okay to be a boss chick and hit the gym and take care of yourself. You can have all of these things. We just got to make sure that we schedule it accordingly. There is no such thing, ladies, as balance. It doesn't exist. Stop looking for it.
Exactly.
What I like to say is that it's called competing priorities. You're going to always have competing priorities. And you're going to always have competing priorities. And just make sure that whatever those, in some days, your priority yesterday may not be number one on the list today. And lastly, when it comes to just the overall structure of your home, taking it back to finances and relationship. Not only having a strong relationship is important, a lot of times our relationship with money is not the best. Some people, we all have our own coping mechanism and our vices. Some people turn to food or drinking or so on and so forth. Some people turn to excessive spending just to look the part. I encourage you ladies to stop paying dress up, look within, figure out what it is you want and who you want to be, and give yourself permission to show up as your true authentic self. And at that point, you will find someone who aligns with where you're going in life.
Mm.
Awesome.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You guys follow them, be in their world. Like, that was amazing. Oh my goodness. Thank you.
You're welcome, Charlene.
And I just want to say, like I always say, until next time, cheers to great love. That's a wrap. Wow, what an amazing couple, and how they were able to create a beautiful love story and their mission in life to help couples create financial security and have an incredible love story. If you're loving this podcast and these incredible conversations, please hit the subscribe button and leave a 5-star review. Don't miss an episode, because each week I'll be bringing on guests and experts who will share the knowledge about love, dating, and relationships so you can apply it into your own life. I'll see you next week. And until then, cheers to great love.